Good morning. I'm Mike. I'm an addict. I'm here to help facilitate the spiritual service of Sunday at McShin. Today, this is where we get to work on our spirituality and some faith. We're going to broaden our other aspects of religion and help include it into our recovery. This morning, we're going to pretty much go through and work on step 11. That's one of the steps that we can actually go in deep on because it has to do with prayer and meditation and about a constant contact with our power, our greatest higher power. After I give a little bit of speech, we'll do my share, and then we'll got two other participants who like to come share, and after that, anybody else can share. So we'll start off with a surrender prayer. Who are we here for? God, grant us the serenity to accept things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference just for today. Thank you, guys. Like I said, I am Mike. I am an addict. Three things I'm grateful for this morning. Gratitude is always one of the main things you got to find, what I had to find to help me in my recovery, because it's what the motivating factor for me to make every day a better day. I'm grateful for my higher power who's allowed me to help facilitate this for you guys. Grateful for coffee. Amen to that. And that I didn't wake up clean. Changed my clean date this morning. Okay, with that, we're going to go through. I'm going to read a little bit of step 11 from the basic text, just to get an understanding of what we're going to be sharing on today. Step 11. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will and for the will and the power to carry that out. All right, I'll give you a little overview of this step. First, the first 10 steps have set the stage for us to improve our conscious contact with the God of our understanding. They give us the foundation to achieve our long-sought positive goals. Having entered this phase of our spiritual program through practicing the previous 10 steps, most of us welcome the exercise of prayer and meditation. Our spiritual condition is the basis for our successful recovery that offers us unlimited growth. Many of us really begin to appreciate our recovery when we get to the 11th step. In the 11th step, our lives take on a deeper meaning. By surrendering control, we gain a far greater power. I'll stop right there. For me, spiritual principles in the Narcotics Anonymous program are very important. For me, they help me work on behaviors. Surrender is one of my foremost and main spiritual principles I have to work on every day. Because if I don't surrender to the process, I know that it's just going to take time, not even 2 seconds, for that little bug in my ear to say, yeah, you don't need this, you got this, you can take care of your own life, But I got my butt whipped. Thoroughly whipped. And I know I don't want to go back to that. And I'm just so grateful that surrender is one of the spiritual principles for me that I can use every day. The nature of our belief will determine the manner of our prayers and meditations. We need only make sure that we have a system of belief that works for us. Results count in recovery. As has been noted elsewhere, our prayers seem to work as soon as we enter the program in Narcotics Anonymous and we surrender to our disease. This conscious contact described in this step is the direct result of living these steps. We use this step to improve and maintain our spiritual condition. When we first came into the program, we received help from a power greater than us. This was set in motion by our surrender to the program. The purpose of the 11th step is to increase our awareness of our power to improve our ability to use it as a source of strength in our new lives. That's a hard step because when I came into this program, I wasn't having this. It was too new, too many changes. I was set in my ways. I've had so much destruction and mayhem in my life that I thought it was my higher power's fault. I want nothing to do with religion. And when I got in the program, they explained to me that your higher power this is not a religious program. This is a spiritual program. The spiritual principles come from religion, from the Bibles and all that, but we break it down to where we can use them on a more intimate level with ourselves. Then we can get that higher connection with our higher power. So it took a while for me to really grasp that strength and hope of having somebody greater than me take over my life. So basically, I had to surrender. It took a while, but once I surrendered, things got a lot easier, and I'm grateful for that. The more we improve our conscious contact with God through our prayer and meditation, the easier it is to say, your will, not mine, be done. We can ask for God's help when we need it, and our lives get better. The experiences that some people talk about regarding meditation and individual religion beliefs don't always apply to us. Ours is a spiritual, not religious program. By the time we get to the 11th step, character defects that caused problems in the past have been addressed by working the preceding 10 steps. The image of the kind of person that we would like to be is a fleeting glimpse of God's will for us. Often our look is so limited that we can only see our immediate wants and needs. It is easy to slip back into our old ways to ensure our continued growth and recovery. We had to learn to maintain our lives on a spiritual sound basis. God will not force his guidance on us, but we will receive it if we ask. We usually feel something is different in the moment, but don't see the change in our lives till later. When we finally get our own selfish motives out of the way, we begin to find a place that we never imagined possible. Enforced morally lack the power that comes to us when we choose to live a spiritual life. Most of us pray when we are hurting. We learn if we pray regularly, we won't be hurting as often or as intensely. Outside the NA program, there are any number of different groups practicing meditation. Nearly all of these groups are connected with a particular religion or philosophy. An endorsement of any of these methods would be a violation of our traditions, NA traditions, and restrictions on the individual's right to have a God of his understanding. That's one thing I like about this NA program. We're not talking about you got to believe in my God. You got to do what my God says. No, it's the higher power of your own understanding. Many people still haven't reached that point where they have a God or a greater deed, greater divine or good orderly direction, all those phrases they say. But just try to work on the thought process of there is something higher than you that's going to help you if you ask. And that's what the higher power is for me. All right. Meditations allow us to develop spiritually in our own way. Some of the things that we didn't work for us in the past might work today. We take a fresh look at each day with an open mind. We know that if we pray for God's will, we will receive it, what is best for us, regardless of what we think. This knowledge is based on our belief and experience as recovering addicts. Now, they say in step 11, through prayer and meditation, it was told to me, I had to learn this, that prayer is asking your higher power for help. Meditation is clearing your mind to receive the knowledge from your higher power to progress with that help, to get the answer that you were praying for. It may not come that minute, may not come that week, but it will come. So prayer is communicating our concerns to a power greater than ourselves. Sometimes when we pray, a remarkable thing happens. We find the means, ways, and energies to perform tasks far beyond our capacities. We grasp the limitless strength provided for us through our daily prayer and surrender, as long as we keep faith and renew it. For some, prayer is asking for God's help, like I said before. Meditation is listening for God's answer. We learn to be careful of praying for specific things. Yeah. We pray that God will show us his will and that we will help us carry that out. In some cases, he makes his will so obvious to us that we have a little difficulty seeing it. In others, our egos are so self-centered that we won't accept God's will for us without any struggle and surrender. But if we pray for God to remove any distracting influences, the quality of our prayers usually improve and we feel the difference. Prayer takes practice, and we should remind ourselves that skilled people were not born with their skills. It took a lot of effort on their part to develop those skills. Through prayer, we seek a conscious contact of our God. In meditation, we achieve this contact, and 11th step helps us maintain it. We may have been exposed to many religion and meditative disciplines before coming to NA. Some of us were devastated and completely confused by these practices. We were sure that it was God's will for us to use drugs to reach a higher consciousness. Many of us found ourselves in very strange states as a result of these practices. We never suspected the damaging effects of our addiction as the root of our difficulty and pursued to the end whatever path offered hope. In quiet moments of meditation, God's will can become evident to us. Like I said before, quieting the mind through meditation brings an inner peace that brings us to contact with God within us. A basic premise of meditation is that it is difficult. It's not possible to obtain a conscious contact unless our minds are still. The usually never-ending succession of thoughts has ceased for progress to make. What this passage has told me that, like in the beginning for me, my mind was just bouncing all over the place. I couldn't think straight. I just couldn't focus. And early in the recovery, my body was going through changes. I didn't have those chemicals in my body that altered my mood, my mind, and all that. When all those toxins came out, I started getting a little bit of clarity. I talked about this before. Through time and surrender and practicing these principles and asking for help and finding that one point of higher power that you can relate to and that you can see that is working for you, things will get better and your mind will quiet. And then you can actually hear things come to you as you pray. All right. All right, let's see, where was that? All right, there. So our preliminary practice is aimed at stilling the mind and letting the thoughts that arise die a natural death. It will take time, but be patient. It will happen. We leave our thoughts behind, and the part of the 11th step becomes a reality for us. Emotional balance is one of the first results of meditation, as our experience bears this out. Some of us came into the program broken and hung around for a while, only to find God or salvation in one kind of religious cult or another. It is easy to float back out the door on a cloud of religious zeal and forget that we were addicts of an incurable disease. It is said that for meditation to be of value, the results must show in our daily lives. The fact is implicit in this 11th step. His will for us is the power to carry that out. For those who do not pray, meditation is our only way of working this step. So if you're not ready to pray and say, put the beam of light on me, just sit back and meditate, listen to people's suggestions. I had to take a lot of suggestions before I calmed down enough to where I started working the process. I respected the process, but now I trust the process. It takes time, but it will happen. We find ourselves praying because it brings us peace and restores our confidence and courage. It helps us live a life that is free of fear and distrust. We remove our selfish motives and pray for guidance. We find feelings of peace and serenity. We begin to experience an awareness and empathy. And with other people, that was not possible before working this step. As we seek our personal contact with God, we begin to open up and flower in the sun. We begin to see that God's love has been present all the time. That's that clarity I was talking about. I started realizing that, okay, it's actually working. All right. We do the footwork and accept what's been given to us freely on a daily basis. We find relying on God becomes more comfortable for us. One thing I learned through my recovery is that I'm not going to get everything back in the first 30 days, first 90 days. In order for me to get what I want, I have to work and get what I need first. And my higher power would work in a way that he'll allow me to have what I need, plus a little extra to see how I would work that extra stuff. And my outcome is gratitude, then I get more and more. But I found if I didn't work this process, if I didn't put the effort in, put the work in, that my higher power gets stagnant and says, okay, let's see what you do with what you got now. And for me, when I had God out of my life, it was just a train wreck. My will, that's what brought me here. So for me, I surrendered to hear what the messages, the suggestions of other addicts, and took those suggestions, that open-mindedness, honesty, and willingness. So that's like the best three first principles that I had to learn to really accept that this is going to work. When we first come to the program, we usually ask a lot of things that seem to be important wants and needs. As we grow spiritually and find a power greater in ourselves, we begin to realize that as long as our spiritual needs are met, our living problems are reduced to a point of comfort. We forget where our real strength lies. We quickly become subject to the same patterns of thinking and action that got us into the program in the first place. We eventually redefine our beliefs and understandings to the point where we see that our greatest need is for knowledge of God's will for us and the strength to carry that out. We are able to set aside some of our personal preferences because we learn that God's will for us consists of the very things we most value. God's will for us becomes our own true will for ourselves. This happens in an intuitive manner that cannot be adequately explained in words. It took a while for me to realize that God's will, I had a hard time understanding what that meant. It took me a while to really work to a point where, okay, so God's will, some things will come and I would get confused about this. Like, I'm working this process. Why do you want me to do this? Why do you want me to do that? Then I realized this is not my will. This is my higher power allowing me to have better opportunities to work a different pathway to get a better understanding of my recovery. And I'm blessed for that. So we become willing to let other people be who they are without having to pass judgment on them. The urgency to take care of things isn't there anymore. We couldn't comprehend acceptance in the beginning, but today we can. We know that whatever the day brings, God has given us everything we need for our spiritual well-being. It is all right for us to admit powerlessness because God is a power enough to help us stay clean and enjoy the spiritual process. God is helping us to get our house in order. We begin to see more clearly what is real. Through constant contact with our higher power, the answers that we seek come to us. We gain the ability to do what we once could not. We respect the beliefs of others. We encourage you to seek through strength and guidance according to your belief. Not what this guy says, you got to do this, you got to do that. Just go with what your spirituality and your principles are telling you to do. We are thankful for this step because we begin to get what is best for us. Sometimes we prayed for our wants and got trapped once we got them. We could pray and get something excuse me. We could pray and get something, then have to pray for its removal because we couldn't handle it. Hopefully, having learned the power of prayer and the responsibility prayer brings with it, we can use the 11th step as a guidance for our daily program. We begin to pray only for God's will for us. This way, we are getting only what we are capable of handling. We're able to respond to it and handle it because God helps us prepare for it. Some of us simply use our words to give thanks for God's grace. In an attitude of surrender and humility, we approach this step again and again to receive the gift of knowledge, strength from the God of our understanding. 10th step clears away the errors of the present so we may work to 11th step. Without this step, it is unlikely that we could experience spiritual awakening. Practice spiritual principles in our lives carries sufficient message to attract others to our recovery. There is a spiritual principle of giving away what we have been given in Narcotics Anonymous in order to keep it. By helping others stay clean, we enjoy the benefits of spiritual wealth that we have formed. We must give freely and gratefully that which has been given freely to us and gratefully give it to others. Thanks for letting me read that passage. For me, I was told, my sponsor started me off on a good, hard regimen of step work process. And they say that when you start working the steps, they want you to go 1, 2, 3, 4. They want you to start from number 1, get that done. Number 2, get that done. I asked them about this step 11. I was like, I think step 11 is very important because if you don't have that clarity, if you don't have that spiritual principles in yourself, you can't. I felt that I couldn't begin the first step. And he said to me, he says, step 11 is probably the only exception in working the steps daily that is allowed to be worked daily. Of course, 1, 2, and 3 are the key steps that help build that foundation of recovery. But I relied on step 11 daily because, like I said, I never thought that my higher power would ever respond back to me after all the cussing and fussing I did to him when I was using. But I stand here being blessed what I have now because of that. So, give you a little bit of history on where I'm at. I'm going to share a little bit of my story. Then we're going to have 2 other participants come up and share their story. And then we'll open it up for more participants if they want to share. This time last year, I had just gotten, I was coming up with my 6 months clean. And I was still fighting this recovery program. I had a sponsor then. I had did the 90-90 and all that, but I still were doing things that were my will. I had so many reservations about this process, this 12-step process. And I thought that I comprehend things better than the next person. So for me, being in all these groups, sitting in these rounds all day long, hearing everybody share, I'm thinking to myself, I'm just listening to people bitch, moan, and complain about stuff. I'm better than that. It came to a time where I went to a meeting in that 90-90 where I heard a participant share. And I would have to say in a meeting, that was the first time I actually took the cotton out of my ears and put it in my mouth and heard what this guy had to say. He shared his story. He had just gotten his 5 years clean. And he shared his story. He started from where he was a kid. And he went through his whole biography. And after he finished sharing, I realized that he had just shared my story to the T. And something different happened to me because usually in meetings, I'll just sit back and just let everybody talk. I'm on the phone doing my little thing. I won't pay attention. I'll hear a little bit, something that catches my ear. But for some reason, this person's story really hit me hard. I was like, and this guy still suffers from a co-occurring disease, and he's maintaining. He has a job, he has a family, but yet all that trauma that he had in the past that put him into an addictive life, he overcame that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if this guy, after him sharing, I mean, it was a very emotional share. I mean, it was to the point where I was crying. I was like, man, I had never done that. That day I surrendered all my emotions because I'm one of those persons that has so much pride and ego that you're not going to see me cry, but it just popped. For me, that was a small spiritual awakening that if this guy could do it, he's got 5 years clean. And I could tell it wasn't BS because it was real emotional. I mean, it hit home that I could do it. So after that meeting, I sat down with my sponsor and I told him how I felt about this. And he's like, that's the point of going to meetings. It's not to go there just to show face, say, hey, next meeting, check. Next meeting, check. 62 meetings, 63, It's there for a way of your higher power communicating with you. Because in the beginning, I had to use that group, the NA group, or any group of participants or my peers as my higher power. I still hadn't found that I believe in God stuff, all that. So I used the power of that room. And it started gnawing at me and started, and it finally clicked. And he was very proud that he saw me at that meeting. He was sitting right beside me. He noticed that I was crying. He's like, how did you feel after that share? why did you cry? And I was like, I don't know. It just, his story hit me so hard. I'm like, damn, all my trauma, those feelings of that trauma that I had as a kid that he went through started coming up in me. And my sponsor said, that's the trauma coming out. And that's what you have to start facing on a daily basis. This is life on life's terms. Even though you change, the outside world's not going to change. You have to learn and earn and get that perspective. You have to start understanding that this process is for me. You're not trying to recover somebody else. You got to recover yourself. Get that foundation of where you can start growing, start getting more and more focused on a better way to live. I was surviving for 25 years. I mean, it was just, I had got to a point in my addiction that I had to use to live. And that just, the fun in the beginning had wore off, and it was just nothing but survival. And every day I had to wake up and have to just survive, find that next one just to get those feelings of blah, trying to run away from those emotions and all. But I am so blessed today. I wish I had more opportunities come to me, but after going through and working step 11, I realized that my higher power is only going to let me handle what I can handle. Give me a little more, but if you believe in that, you'll attain what he gives you, and then you can start getting more and more. It's like a learning process. I had to learn what skills I have, what core values I have. This recovery process for me, it was like boot camp when I was in the Army. I had to literally strip down to the core of my essence and start building up a new life, practicing things, doing things I thought I never would do. I mean, if you see me this time 20 years ago, I would never think I'd be helping out on a service level of having to facilitating this group or running a house with 10 men who have the same problems I do, or working for an RCO with the trust that they have in me to help another addict when they come in. It's just a beautiful thing. And I never thought in a million years I'd have this pathway in my life. Now I have a job that I enjoy. But with that, I'm going to open the floor up. Who wants to go? You want to go first? You want to share your story? Okay. What's your name? Come on up. I'm Mike. I'm an addict. Thanks for letting me share.
I'm Tommy, recovering addict. David told me I should share on hope. So I'll share a little bit of my story. My dad died when I was young, and had to go live with my mom. She was a thief and a drug dealer, so wasn't too good of a mentor. Left when I was 16, never came back. So I ended up on the streets, just doing whatever I could. When I was 21, I went to the penitentiary for robbing a bank. Pretty wild back then. Got out and I got married and had kids, and tried to straighten my life out, but I just dressed up the outside. I wasn't really working on me on the inside. I was just trying to make it look like I was doing what I was supposed to. But somebody told me the other day that because I was always had a problem with trying to get all these tasks done and thinking that was part of recovery, and it's one part, but they said movement is not always progress. So a lot of times I'm not working on me. I'm just trying to get these tasks that are really not that important done. And now that I've been here for a while, I'm starting to work on me, and things are truly amazing. My pathway is Christ. It's not really NA, but I do incorporate some of that into my recovery. But I will say that staying clean and being grateful for the small things, like a lot of times I think about it and I'm just grateful to wake up. Just grateful for this cup of coffee, grateful that I have a warm place to stay, because there's people out there right now that don't have any place to go, and it's cold, and I can't imagine what that would feel like. So I'm grateful every day for the things that I have, and that's what keeps me going. And I have a heart to help people. I like to help people in recovery because I know what it's like. So when I see people struggling, I like to talk to them and give them hope, because there is hope. There's hope for people like us. If someone like me could change, anybody can do that. And now I have people that hold me accountable, which is also a good part of recovery, because not only do I don't want to let my daughter down or myself, I have people that depend on me, and my word is important. So letting them down would also be not a good thing for me. So it helps to have a lot of people to hold you accountable. I mean, this place saved my life. This is a really good place, and I think it's the best place to be honest. Um, but today I'm truly grateful because I don't have to. I don't have to be locked up. I don't have to wake up to trays. I can just wake up and just be me. And a lot of times I struggle thinking, because I feel soft sometimes because I gotta like avoid situations and things that would normally make me mad and want to fight. And I can't be like that. But now I'm starting to embrace that, because who cares? I'm here for my kids. And even though I got all this stuff that I'm dealing with, I really don't want to talk about it. There's a lot of stuff going on with my kids, and I'm still clean, and I just gotta stick it out. Things are going good. I quit my job last week because there were some using going on, and they're about to go out of business. And then I start tomorrow at a foreman position at another job, just staying clean, just doing what I'm supposed to. Things just happen, and I can't explain it, but it just happens. I worry about stuff, and then it just works out. Trusting God, He definitely will take care of you. So today I am a completely different person. Not only am I clean, but my character has changed. And that's, to me, is the most important, because I can get clean, but I'm a different person today. So there is hope. Anybody that wants to talk, I'm always here. Thanks for letting me share.
That share brought me to another thing I wanted to reflect on. The 12 steps that's in our NA program originated from the Alcoholics Anonymous program. And Mr. Bill Wilson, that started the Alcoholics Anonymous program, pulled these traditions and process of recovery from the Bible. For every step, there's a passage in the Bible that it came from. And I never knew that. There's a book they have here on sale called the Recovery Bible. And it'll show you on the sidebar, like if you go in there and look up step 1 or step 2, it'll give you all these links of all the verses and books that it came from. So that I didn't really understand. Well, I basically thought that the AA and the basic text and all these books that we're reading and practicing our process with were just from a group of people who had just sat around a table and said, okay, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. They actually pulled all this step work out of the Bible. So that brings home to me that there is a connection between religion and spirituality. But what the NA process does is kind of keep the religion aspect out, because there's so many denominations. And there's so many different pathways in a religious sect that they're just going to keep it simple in the basic text to where anybody can apply these steps in their lives for recovery without having any conflicts of, Islamic faith or whatever they believe or Dharma and all that. There are other pathways that's more religious based that you can go through. But I'm just so grateful that after I got my clarity, realizing that a lot of this step work comes from a book that's religiously bound. Okay, we got another person want to come up and share? Come on, bring it up here. I mean, just a little bit, share where you're at, how you're doing your recovery. We got 20 minutes. You got to fill the time up. Anybody wants to? You want to share? Y'all hiding back there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all good. I want to appreciate the media man here. He's doing an excellent job. He's been stepped up with some big shoes. Phil knows. I'm glad to see that. All right. So one of the key things in my recovery that helped me a lot that could help y'all is all those sayings they saying, get a home group, get a sponsor, work 12 steps, do 90 and 9. Those are true. You can do the process on your own, but it's what you did on your own which got you here. And willpower is one thing that goes out the door when you take your will back. Excuse me, it's hot up here. So somebody share. Come on, somebody give me a share. Come on. You want to give me a share? Come on, Mike. I'm about to choke here. Come back. God, yeah, you're right. That's another thing in my recovery. I realized that when you have nothing to do and it's quiet, that's when you go nuts. Thank you.
How y'all doing? Where I'm at today, I'm truly blessed, right? I just came from off a relapse. I'm in Henrico Drug Court. Where I'm at right now, back at McDonald's where I love working. I'm a fast food person. Some people don't have patience for that, so I'm blessed for that. To serve people hot food, I'd be excited doing that. I've been using for like 31 years. Well, it's 32. I got 3 boys. I got one in the penitentiary here in Riley's Ridge. He been locked down damn near all his life. He been gone since he was 14. He's 27. So I'm dealing with that. I got a 19-year-old that can play basketball real good like I used to. I used to be upset because I lost my career. Lost playing basketball. But once I seen how good he was, it made me happy. I won't beat myself up no more. I got an 11-year-old. He real bad. He asks a million questions. I don't be ready for that. I have to block him sometimes because sometimes I don't understand, but he just loves me to death. I talk to him more than anybody out of all my kids, so I'm blessed for that. I got my young ladies right here from the Leslie home, which is Jane, the new lady. What's your name? Lindsay. Lottie is my house person. She is so wonderful. She's the best house person I had since I've been in recovery. And I got Amber right here that support me real well too. And her friend right here. What's your name? Big Boss. Yeah, Matt. He support me too. So since I've been home this time, it's been real, real different. I've been having a lot of support. I got a real bad habit with not asking and reaching out. So now I'm not humble. I'm real. Like I used to be real quiet and didn't want nobody to know my business. It ain't no secret no more. I'm an addict. I need help sometimes, and I'm proud for that. Thanks for letting me share. That's all I got.
My name is Michael. I'm an addict. I just want to do this because I'm scared to do this. But I got just a little bit about me. I'm from Stanton, Virginia. I just came from Pyramid Recovery Center in Newport News. Been to jail 4 times this year. Kept relapsing. Got 3 kids that I'm trying to work on getting back. Since being in recovery and being in jail, I have probably got to spend more time with 2 of them than I have in a long time. Probably going through maybe some of the same stuff, that's a fight. But, I'm grateful for FaceTime. I get to talk to them almost every day. Grateful for Roblox, even though I suck at it. My son thinks I'm the shit. Sorry for being in here, but I don't know if I said 90 days clean on the first. Yeah. Also, mainly I wanted to come up here. I'm at Journey House now, so Colebrook Journey House. There ain't a lot of people in there that drive, so I don't know if there's anybody here that drive, but they keep telling us to ask about rides and people in recovery. So I'm doing that too. I am looking for a vehicle. Also, if anybody knows where to find vehicles, I'm looking for a vehicle, and then I can maybe help people get to meetings too. But I love Journey House, man. It was kind of a miracle how I got in there, because I was at Pyramid, and then I had an awesome counselor there. I almost kind of felt like she was like a guardian angel, because she looked like my daughter 100%. But like, the whole reason I didn't have to go to a program, but I was on my first violation, and my PO was like, look, either she was wanting to put me in CCAP on my first technical violation. I was like, what? I was like, well, she's obviously got it out for me, so I better go do something. And I wanted to do something to get back with my kids and prove to my family that, I really wanted to do something different. But I forgot what the heck I was just about to say. But anyway, Journey House. Oh yeah. So I wasn't even supposed to be at Journey House. I was supposed to go to the Caritas or something like that. And I walked in there, and like, I had all my stuff from Pyramid, and I walked in, and the dude was like, oh, you can't have any of that stuff here. And I was like, oh man, here we go. And I was like, I'm from Stanton. All my family, like, it was right at the day before Thanksgiving. So everybody's busy, long story short, I was thinking they was about to take me back to Newport News, and I'm gonna be sitting on the corner, because Pyramid said I couldn't come back in there without going through the whole process again. And then there was this girl in the van, and she was headed to Journey, and like, we didn't talk the whole way there. I was just listening to my music, listening to stuff. And then we get there, and she's like, no, come inside. And I walked inside, talked to one of the dudes in there, and like, almost immediately, as soon as I walked in there, I was like, man, this is where I'm supposed to be at. Oh, it's wild, because it's that real, you know what I'm saying? And man, some of the people there, people in Richmond, I never thought I'd want to come to Richmond. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, man, it's probably some real crazy shit that goes on there. Like, but it's been the best thing for me. I met some of the coolest people. I wish I'd have done it a long time ago. And based off what you said, spirituality and prayer and stuff like that, it helps me more than I really realize sometimes. I wish I did it more and more often, but it's also one of them things. I feel like when you're working on your spirituality, you really figure out the stuff that you have problems with, because, man, like relationships and stuff like that, you just be like, oh man, I wish I could be with that girl. And then you get in that relationship, you're like, how am I going to get out of this? Like, so that's really all I got. I just wanted to come up here. Again, my name is Michael. If anybody, I'm trying to find sponsors, rides, friends, all that. So thank y'all for letting me share.
Anybody else want to share? Okay, all right. I'm gonna pull a little reading out of the Living Clean book. It's called Spiritual Path. It's another little chapter that helps us today understand the message that I'm presenting. The steps are a path to spiritual growth. There is no separation between spiritual part and the rest of our program. Just as the facets of a diamond are not separate from the stone, the spiritual aspects of our program are not separate parts. There are the perspectives on the whole. It is all spiritual. Our understanding of what that means may change over time. What this paragraph tells me is that, for me to work on my recovery, I also got to work on my spiritual principles. They go hand in hand. You got humility, spiritual principle of tolerance, patience. There's a whole list of hope, unconditional love. There's a whole bunch of good spiritual principles that, for me, I have to work every day. As I said, surrender is the main one I have to work on every day, because I got to surrender to this process to keep this little addict's mind calm to where I don't put one in me and blow it all away. Sometimes we think of spiritual principles as separate from the actions we need to take, but in fact, they are connected. Spiritual principles give us a language through which we develop our values and learn to live by them. The principles describe our beliefs, our actions, and the reasons we act. Our relationship to the principles we practice is creative. We learn from day to day to use them in new ways, new combinations to better express who we are and to help the people around us. When you understand them better, we're able to act more consistently with what we believe. As we practice spiritual principles, this thing I want to flip. All right, there we go. We discover that this doesn't make us spiritual. Instead, we are awakening to what has been going on inside us the whole time, our lives. Spirituality is not our natural, well, spirituality is our natural state. All right. Awakening to our spirituality. This is one of the things I had to understand more clearly. This is what my sponsor was kind of trying to tell me that day. I heard that share from that gentleman, and it just all my spirituality just woke up, and it's like all these emotions just like, and it was overwhelming, I have to admit. But thank my higher power for having a sponsor to help me work through this process. We're not the only people who have spiritual awakenings, but there is a particular awakening we experience as a result of working these steps. We awaken to our own spirituality. We are newly alive to the world around us. We see more clearly and feel more accurately. And that isn't always comfortable. Some of our members believe that the most important spiritual awakening occurs when we walk through the door of Narcotics Anonymous, and we spend the rest of our recovery trying to understand what just happened. For others, awakening, like so much else in recovery, seems to happen in layers. The fog pulled back to where we could see how much fog there was. Each time it pulls back, I see more on the horizon. I have a sense of how big it all is and how much I still can't see. With a little luck, I'll be awakening up more and more my whole life. Some of us have awakened spiritually with an overwhelming sense of power greater than ourselves. Like for me, that's what happened with me. Others have shared a slow, gentle reviving of spiritual awareness. Whether or not we ever experience a sense of higher power, discovery that others care about us can be a spiritual awakening. For the first time, we recognize that we matter. That's one thing I'm so grateful for in this recovery journey I'm taking, is that I have never experienced, even before I was in active addiction, in my marriage and my family, my parental life and all that. I mean, in the past, it's amazing how much love, unconditional love, that I was receiving. I had no social skills. My life in my active addiction was basically isolation, introvertness, and just like only contact I had with a person is that exchange. And then I'm in my own little world, my own place I was staying, black, no lights, no whatever. I was just thoroughly in myself. I haven't felt love or empathy from anybody for a long time. So when I came in this program, first thing that happened to me when I was coming down these steps, I'm an alumni from McShin. I've been here a year before I moved to another RCO. This big SOB come out the door, gave me a big hug. I'm right off the freaking bus from the mental hospital. This guy, he just looked at me and he gave me a hug. And that's the first time another human being put their heart to my heart and actually said to me, it's going to be okay. That was the first time that I really felt that I was, like Mike was saying, that I knew I was in the right place. And from that day forth, every day of my recovery has been filled with unconditional love and empathy for people and just the overwhelming gratefulness and hope of others. It's just a beautiful process here. Some of us have awakened spiritually with an overwhelming sense of power greater than ourselves. Others have shared slow, gentle reviving of spiritual awareness. Whether or not we discover a sense of higher power, discovery that others came, man, sorry, I was just a little emotional right there. I apologize. For the first time, we recognize that we matter. Living according to principles leads us to humility, a greater awareness of our place in the world and our ability to live comfortably in it. That's key. That was key for me, to be able to live in a house with other men going through the same trauma, hurt, pain, and all that stuff, and actually care for each other in a way that was unselfish. That was awesome. We often hear at meetings, the most important thing to understand about a higher power is that you ain't it. That's one thing. Yeah, that's a true statement. Whether it takes us, whatever it takes for us to realize that we are not the center of the universe, it is worth it. That's true. All right. When we practice living in harmony with our world, we become wiser about choosing our battles. We learn where we can use our energy to make a difference and where we need to let go. Learning to step away from a conflict once it has started is sometimes the hardest thing that you'll go through, and that not getting into conflicts at all is a better thing. This chapter is weird. That doesn't mean we'll always agree with anyone or everything, or that we suddenly lose the power to stand up for what's right. On the contrary, we learn when to step forward and when to back away. Some struggles are worth fighting, even if we know we cannot win, just as some are not worth fighting, even though our victory is sure. This is discernment, and it comes from our experience. We learn to tell the difference between a principle we need to stand for and an opinion that we just won't let go of. We are able to choose for ourselves when to stand up and when to surrender. And as we practice, we get better at determining which is right for us. Learning to accept the things we cannot change. That's a big one. That's the one I had to deal with. That serenity prayer. Wow. First time I recited, I'm like, okay, this is kind of generic. Okay, that's just a saying. But after living a little bit in the program and getting some principles down, I realized that serenity prayer, that first statement, is about me letting go and understanding that I have to accept there's things I cannot change, but my higher power is going to help me be willing to change the things I can. And with that, I'm grateful for. Many of us are like overgrown children, still wanting to have things our way and without regard for anything else. I still deal with that, but it's okay. Often this means that we go through a painful adolescence in the rooms, whatever our age. Maturity comes to us when we use spiritual principles rather than defects to deal with our reality. Incorporating principles in our lives allows us to understand the difference between right and wrong. Many of our most crippling defects become powerful assets when we let go of a self-centered fear. I think in my early in the beginning of my recovery, I didn't know that one of the behaviors that were like really dominant was fear. I have had my life so structured to where it was easy for me to do what I needed to do every day. But that was only for me to survive. And that's how I accepted life. I thought I was just going to survive every day like this, and I'm in control, so I had no fear of doing this. But once I came into the rooms, I realized that there's a lot of people in recovery, and it's like blinders went up, my force field came up. I didn't want to get vulnerable with anybody. I didn't want to tell my story. I was just it was so intimidating to me at first, coming into these rooms, hearing these people share, everything's great. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, unicorns, rainbows, all that stuff. It was just overwhelming. And I just like, yeah, right. Okay. That's when I just put the blinders on it and pay attention. But after a while, I realized that fear, pride, and ego were the first three I had to just work on so much to get clarity to understand what all this recovery process is. And once I let go and just surrendered, yeah, it is rainbows and unicorns, but you got to remember, I have to remember there's balance in everything. So I would get all these good things, and then life on life's terms hit, and here I am. But how I managed to recover from life on life's terms hits helped me work the solution of that problem instead of dwelling in it and woe is me, victimize myself. So I'm grateful to learn these principles to help follow through on the bad part of what's going to happen to me in my recovery. And I'm grateful for that. It's just spiritual principles for me are there to help deal with life on life's term situations. So many times in our addiction, we experience a moment of clarity. We can see through the truth about what we have become, but that awareness in itself did not bring change. I think I already read that. Yeah. Effort is not necessary for change to occur. Our lives change because we take action. Some of us say that we are applying spiritual principle because it means we're acting in some particular way. Others of us prefer to say we are practicing principles because we know we can always get better at it. However we say it, action is what matters. And that's one of the things I'm working on now is the action process. It's easy for me now to get content in my recovery. It's like some days I'll do my job where I work at, and then come home and I'm like dealing with all this recovery during the day in RCO, and then I come home, it's like I'm done. I just need quiet time, decompress, and all that. Then I realize, I just spent a whole day helping others who need help. So I realize I'm being selfish in my recovery because all I want to do is go home, lay down, and go to sleep, and just wake up the next day, get complacent, get a routine where I'm not having growth in my recovery. So every day I have to check myself. Look, I've got to do self-care for myself, to do meetings, make sure my recovery is getting taken care of. That way I can give back what was given to me. Our primary action is surrender, and we come back to it every day. There's always room to let go a little more. This is a great freedom in understanding that we always have the option to surrender. In the beginning, we may be confused and think we need to surrender to our disease. In fact, that's what most of us were doing before we even got here. So in active addiction, we turn our will over to our disease every day. In recovery, this in recovery, we surrender to the process, to the program, and ultimately to a power greater than ourselves. When we give up the battle, we place ourselves entirely in the care of a power greater than ourselves. It follows naturally that we commit ourselves to the service of that power, however we understand it. To get a higher power, that's one of the key things in the 12-step process of an aid, is pushing on me to find a higher power in recovery. I'm trying to understand the point of that. It was explained to me that a higher power, like many people have said, is something greater than myself. I had to realize that in my active addiction, the power greater than myself was myself. And I didn't need no help. I knew how to go here to the drug man. I knew how to hit the number. I knew how to walk 20 miles in the rain and snow. I knew how to do all that stuff. So why do I need extra help? So with that mindset, coming into the recovery, that mindset didn't change. I still had it. I mean, I had lived so many years in that mindset that it's not like a switch you flip and then you're the good person. I had to slowly break that mindset. I had to slowly break down each individual thing that I knew so well and start learning a new thing every day that will better myself. And that higher power piece, that wasn't in my cards at the time. So I had to learn to just take one day at a time. For me, in the beginning, it was 1 minute at a time. But eventually, I started understanding more and more about this recovery. That the higher power piece, I had to start off with just a simple, like I said earlier, just a simple runes. Everybody has a greater power than myself. They can, as a whole, take and help me better myself, because it's hard to explain on that one. I can go deep on that, but that's all right. But the point I'm trying to make is that a higher power in the recovery is a key asset to have, because what that did for me is keep me from letting my will take over and try to do things my way. It's through a higher process that there's things put in place that will help me get a new aspect on life, help me get clarity, help me get empathy, all these things I never had before. And also that too. So for me, higher power took a while for me to gain, but once I understood that concept, it was the best decision I made to surrender to it. So surrender means having the open-mindedness to see things in a new way, as well as the willingness to live differently. When we open ourselves to a new perspective, we may find more questions where we had hoped to see the answers. Each time we could see possibilities that had not occurred to us before, we gain a little more freedom. We are free to change our minds, to change our perspectives, and to change our lives. Freedom means that we are no longer living by default. More and more, we see how much courage surrender requires. And that's a good piece there. Um, I knew in the beginning that I had the choice to walk right out the door. I wasn't under any contract or any drug court or any correctional facility administration stuff. Knock on wood. I had my first go around 10 years prior, but this time I just got tired of just living day by day and striving for food, trying to find a place to sleep every night. Just the overall trauma that I was going through. And I knew the whole time, even though I was fighting everybody tooth and nail to maintain my way, I knew that I could just walk out the door. But something in this recovery process just changed my whole life. I had to tell myself, I'm gonna just try this, just try it for the day, see what happens. At the end of the day, I felt good. You try another day. So as I've added more and more days in the process, it got easier for me to do the good things. And grateful to today, just grateful. Wow. I'm not gonna bore. What you got? It will. For me, my sponsor helped me understand what a higher power was. He broke it down to a point where he would say, you can have higher power in that column right there, because the knowledge of that person designing that column to support that roof above your head is greater than just sticking a column up there. It was engineered. It was through the process of many people at one greater whole to come together. So you can come in without even thinking about that ceiling falling on your head. So just understanding that point in the beginning, like they'll say your higher power could be a doorknob or just that, but just the bigger picture is that it took a lot of knowledge and a lot of process for that thing to be greater than what you are. I mean, it's something that you have to really dig down deep in yourself. For me, I had to dig down deep because I was agnostic for so long. And that higher power, I thought was like, you got to believe in God. I mean, you know, the lightning bolts and all that. But I had to take one day at a time. And I had to learn that the individual, me being that individual, have no more power than what I have on me. It was the person next to me and that person, all that combined knowledge and experience and all that gives an energy force to help me know that there is something greater than myself. And that's how I came to believe that the NA process for me is going to work. And that for me was the best clarity I ever had. So with that, I'm persevere. All right, guys. Anybody want to share real quick? 5 minutes. If not, 4 minutes. Come on up. You want to come up and share? That's okay. Bring it from here. Mr. Mike Edwards. This gentleman here did some great facilitating. How you doing? Good to see you, bro.
Appreciate you. Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. I'm just getting ready to come up on my 9th or 10th year or whatever. And,
Right.
but no, that ain't woo yet. You know, I'm scared during the season now, you know, because this is the first time I've been this far. You know, I'm 63, but don't tell everybody. And it's been it's been an overcoming challenge for me too. I got 8 children and, you know, and been going through the life, being a dad sometimes and being an addict sometimes as well too. So I had to put all that together. And by the grace of God, the program has helped me make it through this 9 years or 10 years or whatever it is, you know, because it gave me some principles to work for. And I encourage y'all as well to the principles of the program saved my life, you know. So that I encourage you to get your 2nd day and get your 3rd day, get your 12th day, you know. And McShin has helped me a great deal as well too. And so I thank you all for that because I come here almost every Sunday. How am I doing? Almost every Sunday. And but the principles of the program, I've been coming to McShin for over about 14 years, you know, so I thank God for that. And that's really saved my life. And it's these principles, the NA principles, and definitely not me, you know, and my incredible children who teach me a lot as well too. So I got my daughter here today too. So we came here together, and we're going to keep moving forward too. So thank you all, and I'm Mike Edwards. Thank you all, and continue to save me. Thank you.
Okay, anybody want to share anything going once, going twice? Dismissed. Thank you, guys.